All right, Nuggets fans, welcome to Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at Bet Online, or not Bet Online, SCL Mortgage. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am ready to discuss the Denver Nuggets from last night, who are sliding. Like there's no good way to say it. They are back in an unfortunate playoff race right now. The playoff standings update is actually kind of crazy. I won't spend too much time on that one. I'll just probably screenshot it and throw it up in the chat or in the pod at the end of this show, so we can talk about what's actually happening in the West playoffs and where Denver stands with 1 week to go in the regular season. But yeah, it's a tough place for Denver to be. Lots of ugly stuff happening. Things are not looking good. And through it all, Nikola Jokic has been pretty great, but the Nuggets have not been able to get any wins. We will talk about the Jamal Murray injury update, which does not look very good. We will talk about the defense being horrible because, I mean, that seems pretty evident at this point. But yeah, let's just go over the game from last night first. It was a pretty depressing finish for this Nuggets squad. Denver was up at various points throughout this game. They actually were trailing by just 1 point heading into the final frame. They led at various points in the final frame, I believe. But ultimately, mistakes in the clutch, a turnover that was credited to Jokic, but was actually Christian Braun's fault, happened. Michael Porter turned the ball over trying to get the ball to Jokic. Jalen Pickett turned the ball over trying to get the ball to Jokic. Nobody's going to blame these guys for trying to get the ball to Jokic, especially when he has 41 points, 15 rebounds, 13 assists. Not an issue. That's not a surprise that they're trying to get the ball to him. But everybody and their mother knows that Jokic was trying to get the basketball in that situation, and the Nuggets just couldn't do it. And it's a pretty bad place for them to be. Aaron Gordon kind of took a step back in this game, had 5 points, 4 assists, only 5 shot attempts. Definitely felt like he could have been more involved in these situations, but he wasn't for some reason. Christian Braun was tremendous. We'll talk about him in just a bit. But right now, we are in a situation with Denver where you're getting historic high-level performances from Nikola Jokic, and you're not getting anywhere with it. 41 points in 39 minutes is not a surprise when you take 33 shots like he did. Jokic only got to the free throw line 3 times. He was taking, I think, too many jumpers just in general. But, he was fantastic for the vast majority of this game. 15 rebounds and 13 assists is actually kind of low based off of where he was at halftime. He had 9 assists going into half and 29 points going into half as well. Denver went away from him a little bit, not like on purpose. You try to get other guys involved. You try to get everybody else going, seeing if others can help. And Christian Braun certainly did. He had 30 points, 12 of 16 from the field, 3 of 3 from 3, had some personal 7-0 runs in the fourth quarter to kind of will the team back into this thing. But yeah, it's just a really tough place for them to be as they try to figure out where to turn in this situation while the team continues to struggle. It feels like the formula for the Nuggets right now is Jokic plays amazing. One of the other Nuggets plays pretty well. This game, it was Christian Braun. And nobody else, I'll say Russell Westbrook off the bench was pretty good. I have no idea why the plus minus is the way that it was. He was minus 14 in this game, but he was very good in this game and did a really good job coming off the bench for the first time in a little bit here. But it just continues to feel like the Nuggets defense is betraying them over and over and over again. Facing the Pacers, you need to be attached. Tyrese Halliburton was controlling a lot of what was going on at the top of the key. on the wings. The game between him and Miles Turner was here, pick and pop. We're going to see what shots can be generated in these situations. And overall, Miles Turner made shots, but it wasn't this massively impactful performance, I would say. The real ones where Denver got hurt, Aaron Nesmith went 3 of 5 from 3. Andrew Nembhard went 8 of 9 from 2. Each of those guys got to the free throw line a little bit. Felt like Obi Toppin was making a whole bunch of shots in the first half. He slowed down in the second half, to be clear. But then you got guys like Jarris Walker, who's been horrible for most of the season, coming off of the bench for Indiana. He goes 3 of 3 from 3. Those I do remember were some pretty bad closeouts from the Nuggets, including Westbrook. And so Denver defensively just was not connected enough to overcome any offensive issues at this point. And when you have any offensive issues as the Nuggets, you're probably not going to win because your defense just isn't good enough to make up any differences. Denver's defense has been a sham. Like Michael Malone called it a milk carton in the pregame presser because it was MIA. I just learned that, by the way, last night while doing the other show. I had no idea what that meant, which is kind of funny. But he and the Nuggets are trying a lot of different things. The coaching staff is trying a lot of different things in terms of the defense, and they're not getting anywhere. And the reason they're not getting anywhere is because when Denver does try certain things, they make mistakes, and then they try other things, and those other things lead to different mistakes. And on top of it all, the effort is just pretty low from the Nuggets at this point. The actual, not from everybody, because you can see Christian Braun flying around for the most part. But even Christian last night, I'm not going to give him an entire pass for this thing. I watched him left corner in the first half, just kind of stare down at what was an open three-point shooter, and he made the active decision to not close out in a situation where he could have. If everybody makes that decision once in the game that plays, then you've got 9 players who played last night. So 9 times you have guys that make that decision at least once. That's 9 open shots on purpose. And I'm going to give Christian Braun a pass because the dude is flying around. He's the one who's giving the most effort, I would say. But it's just difficult to figure out. Feels like the Nuggets are, I won't say splintering. That seems pretty dramatic, but it feels like they are not playing together. There are certain things that they do on the offensive end, sharing the basketball, but for the most part right now, the offense really is just, hey, we're going to pass the ball to Jokic, and then Jokic is going to do something. And then if Jokic doesn't do something and passes it to one of the Nuggets, then either they do something or they pass the ball back to Jokic. And Denver's offense and the way that they're it just feels so jilted right now. Everybody to me feels like, you can tell inside that locker room, it's a morgue in there for much of this time. Like there's a little bit of discussion from the team, but overall, like you've got Jokic staring forward. You've got Aaron Gordon staring forward at his locker room. You've got Michael Porter on his phone. Like everybody else, it just feels like in those situations, they're trying to come up with the words to say to each other to motivate everybody and make sure everybody's on the same page. But I don't think that they're going to come up with it. I honestly don't. I think that they're in a pretty tough place right now. And it's like we're just a little bit away from talking about the play-in, and that sucks. That really sucks. I want to make sure to stay on this. Jokic in the first half was fantastic. Christian Braun throughout this game had fantastic moments. And overall, when you get 71 points combined from those guys, like they combined for 71 points, 23 rebounds, and 17 assists in this game, just two players. You don't need a lot of other things in order to be good enough. You just need the defense to be more consistent. You just need the effort to be there on and the execution to be there. And there's a lot of frustration going on in terms of them not being able to execute the defensive schemes that the Nuggets are trying to run. There's a lot of folks that are like trying to figure out how to best help. But the real truth of the matter is that it should be easy. It should be easy to figure out exactly how to help in these situations. Play hard defensively, make open shots, don't do anything crazy, let Jokic do the heavy lifting. Christian Braun did that. And he also kind of took matters into his own hands at times. And that was kind of cool to see. Career high for him. And he continues to grow. And I continue to believe that Christian Braun can be part of the solution in the future of the Nuggets and not just a current element of the problem right now. I really do think that he's in a good place to, like, for the Nuggets to just commit to and say, hey, this is somebody that we want around. Whether that actually means like I don't know what that means, but he's up for extension this offseason. I believe that he'll get money from Denver. I think that they'll pay him, and it could be more than you think he deserves. Like, he could be close to like 4 years, $100 million or something like that. And I think that would be perfectly reasonable for Denver to do. But Denver, they need whatever they ultimately decide to do. They need to provide more effort, more connectivity, more intensity than they have over the course of these past few weeks, frankly. Certainly in this last week, where they have not been good enough, it feels like since the Minnesota game, this 4-game losing streak that they are currently on, in Minnesota, things went horribly wrong. Russell Westbrook makes the mistakes that he does at the end of the game. Denver does well enough to win, but then it's kind of taken away from them. And disbelief running rampant in that situation. But yeah, everybody has not recovered from that moment, it seems like. Denver rests everybody that following day against San Antonio. Nuggets have another opportunity to kind of come back and win. They didn't do it. Then they go to Golden State for a 1-game trip. Pretty embarrassing way for them to handle that trip, to be honest. And then they come back and they play last night for another 1-game kind of homestand here. And they allow 125 to the Pacers. And the Pacers could have put up way more, if we're being honest. 15 of 44 from 3 for the Pacers, only 34%. If that was at 40, like we're talking a different score here. 44 times 0.4. If they had made 2 more threes and just shot 40% instead, then we're talking about something that feels a lot closer to an inevitable blowout because of the defensive issues. Yeah, I think Denver's in a really ugly place. CT Fazio's in the chat. Shout out. How are they such a bad fundamental team? KCP was their most fundamental player, especially on the defensive end. He also limited turnovers on the offensive end and was much more precise, I think, in a lot of times than some other guys that they have. And adding more pressure, like he's just a guy that you could occasionally run a DHO on the left side of the floor with and say, hey, we're gonna get to this play that we like to run, and you're either going to curl and take the 15-foot pull-up jumper, or you're going to stop behind the 3-point line and pop, or you're going to curl it into the paint and go try to get a layup. And so it's funny, like just not having something like that on the offensive end as a fundamental play that they can go to every now and then is like kind of lacking. And it does feel like what Denver does on a consistent basis lately is just random and hopeful that Jokic creates something at times, as opposed to something that's really like ironclad, what everybody knows is going to happen. And then the defensive end is pretty simple. They don't have fundamental defenders. The energy is low. Guys are not necessarily wanting to do the extra work right now. And that sucks. That, of course, sucks. Okay. Enough about this game. Like, it sucked. 4-game losing streak. You didn't have Jamal Murray. Of course, they didn't have Pascal Siakam. And Pascal probably means more to Indiana than Jamal means to Denver. But maybe not in this moment. Maybe not in this moment. And it does seem like the Nuggets really missed Jamal Murray, especially with the way that they handled clutch time, with the way that Denver continues to need somebody else other than Jokic to step up in these situations. Christian Braun obviously handled that in this last game pretty well, but then that ran out when the time ultimately came. So I don't know. Tough place for them to be, but tell you what, let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to discuss the Murray injury as well as the standings and where I think everything's going to fall after the end of this week. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back here, Pickaxe and Roll. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. Apologies that this hasn't been the biggest, brightest spot that I've been able to put out there, because it's not necessarily the best and most exciting place for Denver to be at this point. But hey, I've still got plenty of opportunities, and we should talk before we get back into it about STL Mortgage. They are helping hundreds of people achieve their mortgage dreams. Truly a one-stop shop for all of your residential mortgage needs. If you're self-employed, need payment assistance, or looking for a second mortgage, SEL Mortgage, they specialize in assisting people with unusual financing needs, as well as those with great credit. Hundreds of satisfied customers, 5-star reviews, and A+ Better Business Bureau rating. They show pride. They take care of you. Make sure to call 303-790-2222 or visit myspecialmortgage.com. Okay. Let's get back into this thing. Jamal Murray. Denver clearly needed him in a game like this. Not for his defensive prowess, because that's not why he's out there, but somebody that could calm Denver down in clutch time, could put them into situations that they know that they're comfortable with, and not have to go to Jokic in the post every single possession. But it may not be a good situation for Denver to be. Jamal might be out for a little bit longer than everybody expected. Michael Malone said, and I'm going to read a quote from my article here that I posted this morning at Mile High Sports. You should go check it out. Michael Malone, when asked about Jamal Murray's injury, said, quote, "This has been a weird one. It was day to day. The next thing you know, it's not day to day." And then in following up, Malone didn't confirm that Murray would even be back in time before the playoffs begin. And so he's got a hamstring. He's got a hamstring problem. It's hamstring inflammation. I'm not going to pretend to know enough about the differences between inflammation, soreness, a strain, a sprain, anything of that nature in order to discuss like what Jamal's injury is like. What I do know is that it's clearly given him some issues, and he's not a guy that would be hiding from this situation if you're Denver. Like, he wants to be out there, and the reason he is not out there is because he's in pain, is because he can't, like, it's just not a good situation to play through. And so Denver has had to survive without him for a little bit, and they haven't survived, frankly. In the 5 games that he's missed, they are 1-4, and the one game that they did win was against the Utah Jazz. So they have not survived. They need him back. They need a healthier version of Jamal Murray back, but that's not a super awesome indication, I don't think, that when Malone says he doesn't know if he's going to be healthy by the playoffs, because what that says to me is that if he does come back, it's probably not at 100%. And the Nuggets in this season were supposed to have everybody at 100% or close to it heading into the playoffs, kind of peaking at the right time, doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, putting themselves into a position to succeed. And it just doesn't feel like they're in that spot. It feels like they are going the exact opposite direction of the way that they need to go. Jamal is one person. He's not the only guy, but like, he is also somebody that has dealt with injury issues before for this Nuggets team, and they know how important he is. So they're trying to make it so that he is as healthy as possible. But before yesterday, he had played the 28th most minutes in the NBA. And usually that's a spot that's reserved for the Mikal Bridges of the world, the OG Ananobis, the guys on New York who are playing heavy roles, the young players in the NBA who are trying to get the development, who have the young legs. Let's face it, Jamal doesn't have young legs anymore, and expecting that from him would be ludicrous. So the fact that he was playing as many minutes as he did, I think is kind of a criticism that you can say. All right, no, you're putting time out. Like, it is a reasonable criticism of Michael Malone, I think, to say that he shouldn't have played Murray as much as he does. And especially with the way that Jalen Pickett has looked, with the way that Russell Westbrook, especially during December, January, February, has played. I know they're trying to get Murray back on track, but there were still so many games where he played 40 minutes, 38 minutes, 42 minutes. In overtime games, 46 minutes. Like, these are situations where Denver could have avoided that, and Malone actually just played him too much, relied on him too much, put him out there too much. And I get it. I understand. You want to trust your guy, you want to play your guy. But could part of Murray's issues be that he was in the yellow, in the red, in terms of his fatigue level at this stage of the season, and the Nuggets didn't treat that well? That's a training staff thing. I don't necessarily have strong positive feelings for the Nuggets training staff, especially after several years of having to figure out what the hell they're doing. So like that could be part of this too, just as much as it is with Jamal specifically. But whatever the case, the update is just not good. It doesn't mean that he won't play on Wednesday. Like, Denver plays on Wednesday, they play on Friday, they play on Sunday. Could he play on Wednesday against the Sacramento Kings? Sure. Does it mean that he's going to be 100%? Does it mean that he's going to look good? I don't know. I very much doubt it at this stage of the season. And then that leads into the playoffs, where Denver, of course, if they were going to ever have a chance at an NBA title, it was going to be because Jokic is the best player in the world. Murray turns into playoff Murray. Aaron Gordon steps it up. Michael Porter hits the shots. Christian Braun plays great defense and is dared to shoot and then makes those shots. That was how the formula was going to go for Denver. And right now they're already losing certainly other elements of that, but the Murray aspect of it is more important than anything other than Jokic. Like, you know what Jokic is going to provide. I think most Nuggets fans feel like that's a strong baseline for what they could expect. But if Murray's not out there, or if Murray's not out there at a high level, that changes everything. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell people. Unfortunately, I wish I could provide more positivity in this situation. What I will say is that Murray, before, in times where he's been injured, times where he's been hurt, has stepped up and played really well. He has just kind of risen above and beyond in these situations and played a pretty good game. I just find it difficult to expect that over the intensity of a playoffs, not just the first round series, but the second round series and the third round series and the NBA finals. Like, I know nobody's even really considering the NBA finals at this point, but even if Denver does rise to the occasion in those situations, I just don't know how much they're going to have left to give at that point. And that's an unfortunate reality here for the entire team, not just Murray. How much more does this team even have to give at this point? What is the next level for this team? It's a pretty low level that they've established at this point. And one would expect them to be able to, like, have a championship level gear, given that they have won a championship with several of these guys. But I just don't see it. And I don't know if anybody can really pick that out. Like, hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully they look like a world beater in the in the playoffs this coming year. But hell, they might be think about the play-in, not even the playoffs, if we keep going the direction that we're going. So whatever. Let me pull up the standings real quick, and then we can get out of here. This is what the standings look like right now. OKC, again, by themselves, they've played really well this entire season. Houston, they're kind of by themselves. They've formed a gap at the 2 seed. They haven't fully confirmed it yet because they still have 5 games. Or no, actually, that's 3 games left to play. So they're effectively kind of locked into a top 3 seed. That's guaranteed. The Lakers have 30 losses. They are separated from the 4 through 8 seeds. The Nuggets, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Timberwolves, and the Grizzlies are all at 32 losses right now. Denver is above them because they have one more win. But hypothetically, if the Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, and Grizzlies all win their next game and got to 47 and 32, Denver would be at 7th in the standings. That's not hyperbole. Like, the tiebreakers actually would put them in 7th place, the play-in. And so Denver, fortunately, they have banked an extra win. And it's very possible that because of the schedule the Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, and Grizzlies play, at least one of those teams will probably lose a game that they shouldn't lose, maybe multiple. But it's just hard to expect that. This is why taking advantage of and taking care of your business is so important. And Denver just has not done that to the degree that they need to. So the Nuggets are in a tough place. If I have to predict it, I'm going to say that they fall to 6 and they don't actually fall into the play-in. But it wouldn't surprise me, and it shouldn't surprise you. At this point, like, I was writing off the play-in as a possibility before the Timberwolves game, and then they lost 4 games in a row, and I just didn't expect them to be capable of doing that. Like, maybe that was a mistake on my part, but, like, I really did not think the Nuggets were capable of losing 4 games in a row at this stage of the season, but they have absolutely done that. Really disappointing finish to the year. There are 3 games left to go. Denver plays Sacramento on Wednesday. They play Houston on Friday. They play Memphis on Friday, and they play Houston on Sunday. I don't know what they're ultimately going to do in each of those games. Houston, for what it's worth, like, there's no reason for them to try hard in that game. I think they will have the 2 seed locked up. And so it wouldn't surprise me if they just rested everybody. So Denver, if they want to, like if they really care, if they have any shame, like, and I'm not kidding, if they have any personal shame, they will win that final game if it matters. If they want to, if that's the way to avoid the play-in, they'll find a way to avoid the play-in. But if they're in a situation where they win out and everybody else wins out, their destiny is not actually up to them at this point. So, not awesome. Not awesome at all. Okay, well, sick. That is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, folks. Brought to you by our good friends over at Bet Online. Actually, okay, True Teller is here. Ryan, please tell me, what is the point of Hunter Tyson on the roster? Why not cut him and sign Justin Holiday? Brother, I don't know. Like, you're preaching to the choir here. Justin Holiday should have been a Nugget like on October 15th of this season. He should not, like, we shouldn't have had to wait this long. He would have been extremely helpful. Denver needed another wing, and they have not gotten it. It does feel like I remember thinking back to this at the beginning of the year. It's fine to lose KCP, but why lose KCP and Justin Holiday on purpose at the same time? Like, if you had an opportunity to just pay KCP if you wanted to. If you didn't want to do that, you could have absolutely paid Justin Holiday to fill a similar role or a smaller version of that role and just be somebody who could be on the fringes of that rotation. Denver just didn't do that for whatever reason. I cannot fathom at all why that wasn't the thing that they did. Everybody, that is going to do it now for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at SCL Mortgage. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on the way out. Apologies for this one being a downer, but we're kind of at a downer point of the season. I hope that they're able to turn it around shortly, but if they're not, we will see. And here's the thing. If they struggle and then they lose and the season is actually over, then you best believe there will be nobody else in the media that will give you better answers for what they can do, for what they could try to do than me. I 100% believe that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys very soon.